Hey, you're hanging out in the Link Up Lounge. I'm Tiffany Mason.
And I'm Donna Ruppel. Around here, we believe success isn't just about what you know, it's about who you link up with. This is your lounge for turning one link into endless opportunities.
Donna, it blows my mind that the two of us have over 30 years of combined networking experience.
I know. We've built businesses, expanded networks, and created unstoppable momentum, all through the power of strategic connections.
AKA networking. And now we're here to guide you to do the same, starting today.
So let's dive in, connect, and start making moves you didn't even know were possible. Welcome back to the Link Up Lounge. I'm Donna Ruppel, your Nocatee real estate expert, and I am here with my co-host Tiffany Mason of Virtually You, the boutique podcast management agency.
This is your lounge for turning one link into endless opportunities. And today we're talking about one of the most overlooked networking tools right now, your content.
Dun, 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 dun.
So many people still think of networking as something that only happens face to face, but that's no longer the full picture because your voice, your message, and your consistency can open doors before you ever walk into the room. Content has the power to introduce you, build trust, and create connection long before a direct conversation even begins. And I think we actually touched on that in the last episode when we were saying after you become friends with people in messages, then you can kind of, get a sense for their Facebook personality. So a lot of people think networking only happens at events or in meetings, but what if your content was doing the networking for you, even when you're not there? What if your podcast, your videos, and your posts were helping other people understand who you are and what you bring to the table before they ever met you? That's where content becomes so much more than marketing. It becomes relationship building.
Relationship building. That's what we want, right? That's exactly what happens when you start using podcasts. Like this one. Podcasts. Video is a big one too. Seeing your face, seeing who you are, and social content intentionally, people get to know you before they ever meet you. They start to recognize your voice, your energy, your perspective, and the way you show up. And that kind of familiarity creates a very different starting point when the connection finally happens. I mean, think about it. How many people have you sort of followed along on social media and you've seen their reels and you've seen your stuff, and then you finally meet them in person? And you already feel like you know them a little bit, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I loved your reel, like you're just like, you feel like you already know them. And they're like, do I know you? And you're like, oh yeah, I'm your social media stalker, but it makes such a difference.
Well, I think it's true. Your vibe attracts your tribe, right? But one of the ways I really love using somebody's podcast is, okay, I guess I'm going to use a specific example. I was debating if I should or not. We have a lady in our networking group that has a podcast about health. And, on Facebook, people are saying like, I need somebody to help me with this. Can you tell me the truth about GLP-1s? Can you tell me about a doctor that works with hormones? All these kind of things. And it feels like a cold introduction a little bit to me to be like, oh, you should check out this lady's organization or this lady's business. But it feels very natural to me to be like, you should check her out. Set up a free call with her. But first, if you want to check out a couple of her episodes, because me personally, I want to get a vibe for, does this person actually know what they're talking about? Or did they just get their life coaching certification yesterday? Like, do they actually know what they're talking about? So I will decide on my own about building know, like, and trust. Do I like this person? And then maybe I'll do some business with them, or maybe then I'll ask them to be on my podcast, right? Like as soon as I feel like, okay, it gives us a way to kind of pre-qualify people in a way.
I absolutely love being able to, when I am referring somebody, especially in a cold social media setting, to be able to say, oh, check out their podcast. Because for that exact reason, you're going to have an opportunity to hear what their knowledge base is, what their personality is like. I mean, talking about somebody else in our networking group she is probably the funniest person I know. And so she doesn't have a podcast, but she should. If her social media was generic and like all the other med spas out there, right? She's an esthetician, a med spa person. If her social media was the same as everybody else's, I would be like, that is just not her. at all.
Yeah.
I love the fact that she's harnessed her personality and her sense of humor in her social media, because every time I see that, I'm like, that is her. And I love it. Yeah. I'm here for it. Sign me up. You know, like I love that when people are really putting forth who they really are, and it allows other people to get to know them. So I love referring with a podcast. That's awesome. But also, when referring like the esthetician, I love referring people to her Instagram, because then they get to see her super fun personality.
Yep. It changes the entire dynamic. You're no longer like starting from zero. You're starting with familiarity. Instead of introducing yourself from scratch, you're continuing a connection that already feels established. There was this lady that I was watching about 5 years ago, lives in the area, does fitness, and I had been following her to try to get some extra tips or whatever. And you would have thought I saw a celebrity at the pool, okay? Got to the pool. She had her little hat on that she has on in some of her videos. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's you in the flesh. Which, you guys, I was so flattered because she knew who I was too. Literally never had a conversation though. Like I'd only just maybe commented here or there on some of her posts. She must have followed me back, or my comments must have put my content in front of her or whatever. And we totally knew who each other were. The other thing that I will say about building those connections through podcast or social media content is, I know a lot of my podcasters, if they're using their podcast to drive traffic to their business, what they find is more qualified leads showing up or connecting with them, right? So if you have followed this person's content for a while, you've already decided if you're going to do business with them, because we do business with people we know, like, and trust, right?
For sure.
So by the time they're reaching out for your little 30-minute call, or they're downloading one of your tips and tricks worksheets or whatever, they're pretty much already a done deal. You're not having to work as hard to get that sale. So that's another added benefit of us building these relationships. It takes away so much of the friction that often comes with traditional networking. Imagine if she was trying to get out all of the facts that she knows in one 30-second conversation versus someone just going and checking out the podcast.
When I listen to somebody's podcast or watch their content on social media, it's like I'm spending time with them. I hear how they think. I hear how they communicate. I hear what they value. And that repeated exposure builds comfort and trust in a way that a quick introduction or conversation in a networking event simply cannot. And over time, I believe that content helps people feel like they know you. I mean, it does for me, even if you've never had a direct conversation with them.
Yeah. So when you're finally in person or connect directly, it doesn't feel like a first introduction. It's not cold. It doesn't feel like I just popped out from out of the blue. It's like it's like a continuation. It is kind of, well, you could come off stalkery. So be careful. If you're like, I've been following every post you've ever made for the last 5 years, that's a problem. That's a red flag, guys. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
But that person may already have a sense of your personality, your expertise, and your style. I know a couple of times I've gone to check somebody out and thought like, oh, they were really nice or whatever. Like I thought we were on the same level field. And then I go check them out and it turns out they're like really qualified. They have like all these degrees that I wasn't expecting to see, or they've worked at these impressive places.
Right.
And now I'm like, whoa, I want to know more about that.
Right.
So instead of spending time trying to establish just basic trust, you're actually able to move on to a much more natural and more connected conversation. And that's what makes content such a powerful relationship builder.
It is powerful because it does shorten that connection gap instantly. I mean, I'm sure when you guys listen to this podcast, you're like besties with us, right? And so if you saw us out and about, you'd be like, oh my God, we so relate on so many levels, right? And that's what the power of the podcast can do. It lets people hear who you are, and it really replaces that awkward first encounter with a sense of familiarity that makes people
I think you're right. It's a shortcut.
It makes people more open to engaging with you because they already know where you're coming from because they've already listened to you. And when somebody already feels connected to you, they're much more likely to remember you, for one. Because like you said, you saw that woman at the pool and you were like, oh my gosh, she was like a superstar, right? And she knew who you were, and that was so exciting. So they're much more likely to remember you, reach out to you, or recommend you to somebody else.
So I know content also gives people something to talk about you. Like, did you see, okay, I got a perfect example. So I made this content for our mobile coffee cart where I basically said my husband does everything. It was showing my husband working, and then I'm like sitting on the couch, showing him doing something, and then I'm like sitting on the couch. Okay. And then I did another one where I had how I see my husband. And it was like, he's the plumber, he's the electrician, he's the this, he's the that. And that was how somebody knew me. They were like, oh, I know exactly who you are. You make these awesome memes about your husband, how he does everything. And I was like, girl, that is not incorrect either. My husband does a lot. That's why it's funny, because it's true. But, I think that gave her an entry on a way to talk to me. It gave her a way to start a conversation with me that felt a lot more natural than starting with, so aren't you the lady with the coffee cart? It gave her a way to actually chat with me. So instead of trying to find common ground on the spot, my content already gave her something that she could talk about. And it just made the connection so much easier for both of us.
So instead of starting with small talk, they might actually say, I heard your episode, or I saw your post about, and that immediately gives the conversation context and direction. It's also a way to start the conversation, start the connection without having to be this formal introduction. And it also tells you that they've already engaged with your message, which creates a stronger foundation right away. You already know they're on your socials, or you already know they're following your podcast, and you're not wondering what to say next because the conversation is already on stage 3 at this point, which makes it so much easier.
Well, and how great is it to be like, if you liked that episode, you may like this episode as well, right? Like, you get to show your expertise and you get to refer to another episode that they may be interested in. And if you continue to be able to refer information or refer episodes that are relevant to them, you're also building that trust again. Now you're stepping into deeper conversations right away. You're not just exchanging names and titles. You're talking about ideas, insights, and sharing interests. That creates a stronger connection much faster. And often those are the conversations that lead to real opportunities. They may say, I didn't realize you guys did pastries. I didn't realize that you did other components of the podcast. You're giving them a 360 view of your business.
And that broader vision of your business makes your networking more meaningful and more memorable. People are far more likely to remember a conversation that had substance or humor, in my opinion, than one. Yeah, that for sure. Than one built around generic introductions.
Can I share a little side note?
Yeah.
On one of the podcasts I was editing, I recently learned he was interviewing a comedian, and they said that the number one way to build trust the fastest is to use humor.
I could believe it. I can totally believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
I see it. Because if I'm at a networking event and somebody is like, oh, hi, I'm Dan and I do, mortgages.
That can make an impression in the wrong way, but that could leave a memorable impression.
But I'm like, okay, but if somebody says something that is humorous or off the cuff and it's funny, I'm going to remember that person. I'm going to be like, okay, I can have coffee with that person. I can hang out with that person. It's definitely like going back to high school all over again, right? And when I'm in a big room, it's like, who can I connect with? That's what I'm looking for. Who can I connect with? And no, it's not about necessarily making friends, but it is about building relationships, building trust, and getting to know each other. And you have to feel like you can connect with somebody if you're going to do those things. So your content that you have on social media and the podcast that you have, all of that is just circumventing that whole get to know you level, and they get to see who you really are. So those connections are going to be deeper, quicker, and it gives people something specific to associate you with. And it makes it easier for them to talk to you about what you do. There are some people in my life that I talk to on the regular, but we don't ever talk about real estate, right? We talk about 1,000 other things. But just recently, they brought up the real estate conversation because of my singing in the shower thing on social media. And they were like, oh my gosh, I love that, and they were talking about it. And then we started talking about real estate after that. And it was just one of those things on this exact topic. It was the only time I've known this person for years. And it was the only time they even broached the real estate conversation, because when people know you're a real estate agent, they're very careful about what they talk about, because they definitely don't want to give you any impression that they want to buy or sell a home right now. So they're very careful, So that, I think, came from the content on my social media, which is just able to open that conversation, not make it so serious.
Well, and I think another benefit of the content, as long as you're being consistent, is it keeps you top of mind. So what I said in that sentence was, as long as you're consistent. Consistency is also another thing that is supposed to build trust. So they know, like, you're still in it, you're still committed to it, you're still doing the things with it, but it also keeps you top of mind. So if someone's not in our networking group, I kind of need social media to remind me of these other people. And that's why I'm saying the number one thing you should do is connect and be their friend. So their content keeps coming up. And then you keep going, oh, yeah, I like that. Or, oh, that was funnier. And I'll say, side note, with your singing in the shower, I want to work with a realtor like that. I don't want to work with a realtor that feels plastic to me. I don't want to work with a realtor that feels stuck up or doesn't have a sense of humor, right? So that could have been the doorway just there, just knowing like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about, but doesn't take life too seriously. Consistency is one post is not going to change everything. So you have to show up regularly. Consistency is what turns content into a relationship building tool instead of just a one-time effort, just a wing done. I'm not going to do that again. The more often people hear from you in a valuable, authentic way, the more likely they are to remember you when the right opportunity comes along. And I'll have podcast clients ask me, like, what's the right consistency for releasing episodes? And I always say, whatever you can stick to, whatever you can commit to. And it's okay to increase, but we don't really want to decrease. Especially when it comes to a podcast, people start to have like these little routines, right? Like, oh, that next episode is out. I want to listen to it. I want to, like, that's the thing I do on Tuesday, or that's the thing I do on Friday. Like all of you guys listening, right? You guys are probably waiting with bated breath every Tuesday. Right. When is the next episode going to come out, right?
For sure. Every Tuesday, they're just waiting.
It's your routine. We get it. And that's why you guys trust us to bring you the most up-to-date information about networking.
That's right. And they're waiting.
And they trust us.
Right? So staying visible through your content consistently helps you remain part of the conversation, even when you're not actively networking in person. So I'm going to say that again, because I think it's really important to understand, number one, it's important to be consistent in everything you do. So it is important to consistently network. It's important to consistently go to either the big events or the small events, no matter what. But sometimes we can't always do that, right? We have lives, we have things we want to do and vacations we want to take and lives we want to live. And so you can't be 100% consistent all the time in showing up in person. However, staying visible through content on social media or through a podcast really helps you remain part of the conversation. It's like ongoing networking without having to constantly reach out or constantly be in the room. Your content keeps your voice, your message, and your expertise in front of people on a regular basis. Remember, every Tuesday, you get to hear powerful messages about networking. That doesn't replace real relationship building, but it does support it in a very powerful way. And it allows you to nurture connection at a much broader scale.
And if you guys are having a moment and you're like, I wish I could talk to Tiffany or Donna, you can. You just go into the show notes and it says, text the show. And you guys can send us a message and we can reply to you. So if you got a burning topic or we're just making you laugh, you just let us know. Because we want to know. We want to nurture our network.
Burning topics, bring them. Yes.
Okay. So with our consistent posting and being able to follow along, and we're shortcutting I like the word that you use, circumventing the getting to know you process. You're nurturing your network at scale. Okay. So you didn't have however many people you're connected with and however many people Facebook shows your content to or Instagram shows your content to. Now you've touched base with those 87 people or those 651 people out there, right? Instead of trying to individually stay in touch with every single person all the time, your content is helping you to maintain that connection in a consistent and intentional way. It keeps people familiar with your work and engaged with your perspective. And that steady visibility can make a huge difference over time.
So let's talk about making it strategic, because I think that's an important component. The key really is to be intentional and don't just post. Okay, nobody during this episode, please do not go look at my social media, okay? Do what I say, not what I do. Okay. So
it's not true. I feel like your social media is very intentional.
It definitely could be better, but that's okay. I'm slowly working on it. But anyway, don't just post, okay? randomly. Share content that reflects what you want to be known for. Okay, one thing that I heard early on when I came back into real estate was somebody said, market for what you want. Okay, not what you think you're going to get. So a lot of people in real estate, they believe their first deals and their first transactions for the first couple of years are going to be all buyers. Buyers are great, but I set up all my social media and all of my marketing to speak to sellers when I first came back to real estate because I wanted to represent sellers with more intention. And so all of my social media and all of my marketing was about that. And that is what I attracted from the get-go. And so it's the same thing in your industry. Share content that reflects what you want to be known for, what your ideal client looks like, what your ideal piece of business is. And every episode of your podcast, every video, or every post is an opportunity to reinforce your message and show your expertise. So when your content is aligned with your goals, it starts attracting the kinds of people and opportunities that fit what your goals are.
When I started my content, I wanted small business owners with podcasts. And so I just started marketing everything towards that person. That was who I wanted to attract. That is who I attract now. But it's kind of like your power statement. What's the best connection for me? You have to market to that person. You have to market. You have to be specific enough that when somebody sees your content or hears an episode or hears the overall umbrella of what your podcast is about, they go, oh, that's me. Or, oh, I know somebody that needs this person. And that's what you're trying to do. That way your content is attracting the right connections, not just more connections. We're not looking for more connections. Donna doesn't need to know more people. She needs to know more people that are trying to buy a home or they're downsizing or whatever the case is at the time. More visibility is not always the goal. The goal is alignment. You want your content to draw in the people that resonate with your message, need your expertise, and share your values. That's what turns content into a true networking tool instead of just digital noise.
And that's really where real opportunities come from. The best opportunities usually come from the right people finding the right message at the right time. And when your content is clear, consistent, and intentional, it creates that possibility over and over and over and over again. And it's super easy for people in your network to share that with other people too.
Well, and that's kind of the beauty of some of the reels that we make. And of course, podcast episodes or YouTube episodes or shorts on YouTube. That stuff lives there forever, right? Like I feel like a post can kind of get buried, but you can go through people's content. I mean, there's plenty of times where I've gone to somebody's main page and just sifted through all of their posts since the last 5 years or something crazy. And you really get a feel. Sometimes you can even see the person change. Have you ever done that? Gone through it and like, oh, I see a little professional shift here.
Well, I have to tell you, for those of you that do not know this, I love dogs. Dogs are my people. Okay. I have a deep connection with dogs. I know this is going to shock you, but I follow somebody on social media. I believe she's out of Utah because that's part of her
handle.
Yeah, that's part of her social media handle. So I believe she's out of Utah, but she has 8 Yorkies and she gives them themed.
God love her.
Right? She gives them themed holiday baths and dresses them all in the same outfits and then takes a picture. Okay. And there's 8 of them, right? And so it's impressive that she gets them all to sit still while she takes this picture and does all of this stuff. And like her themed baths are amazing. Anyway, I was talking about this with my mother-in-law over Easter and I showed her the Easter one because she had an Easter one. So adorable.
Okay, this is creating way too much curiosity for me. I think we're going to put one of the links in our show notes so you guys can see because I need to know what a themed bath is. I also want to see 8 Yorkies dressed up adorably the same. Okay, so it's going to be in the show notes, guys. We're just going to have to do it. Yeah, okay, please continue.
Anyway, I sent it to everybody for Easter. My kids, my in-laws, I sent this reel and said, Happy Easter. And I was like, not only are they cute, but also they didn't run away. Like, I think if I put my kids, my dogs out at the front door, they would take off. Anyway, so the training is phenomenal. Anyway, I sent that for everybody for Easter in my family. And then at Easter dinner, my mother-in-law was like, what is with this dog thing, right? And I pulled up just what you said. I pulled up her profile and I started scrolling through it and picking different ones and showing her. And we went way back to when she only had like 5 Yorkies. And I was like, there's
clan
only
has
5,
grown.
right? And now I'm on a whole, vet journey with one of the older ones. I mean, I'm telling you, I scroll through hers and pick out these baths for every holiday because they're so cute. So yes, anyway, that was my side note.
Well, that goes to show you're just one piece of content away from someone discovering you. One episode, one post, one video of your 8 Yorkies all dressed up the same can create a connection that you never saw coming. Watch out when the Utah lady gets flooded with all of us watching all of her stuff.
I know, right?
That's what makes content so exciting. You never know who is listening, watching, or paying attention. But when you stay consistent, you give those opportunities a chance to find you.
And one connection away from your next opportunity. That's why using your content intentionally matters so much. It's not just about being visible. It's about being discoverable, memorable, and trusted. And when you use your voice well, it can create opportunities far beyond the screen.
All right. Well, it is time for this week's networking mode on tip. Share one piece of content this week that speaks directly to how you help others. Then pay attention to who engages. Those are your warmest connections. That is your low-hanging fruit. Networking mode on.
If you start showing up through your content, you know what I would love is on that great reel or on that great video or whatever. You can't really do it with podcasts, but on social media, I would love for you to tag us on Instagram at @the_linkup_lounge because we'd love to support you, see what you're creating, and make some comments to help you out with that algorithm. Let's keep building those powerful links together.
You've been hanging out in the Link Up Lounge, your lounge for turning one link into endless opportunities.
Now it's your turn. Go make a powerful link today.
Networking mode on.